Greetings, this is your local rep Aynsley Salzman, and I'm going to give you a quick overview today on the new MyWritingLab for Comp. Based on feedback from comp instructors like yourself, our goals with MyWritingLab are to help students to improve their writing and to allow instructors to assess that work using the criteria they choose. So let's dive into the lab. So as you will see on my screen here, we are currently on the course homepage. On the course home, your student and yourself will be able to see what assignments are due that day. So you'll see the persuasive paper due today, or due on August 22nd, and then you can actually switch to the learning path. What should I do next? So this is based on a diagnostic that the student took, and also what activities you may have assigned for the student to work through. So there's 3 progress bars right here, and then as they go through their activities, then they're able to go on to the next one. And I'm going to click right now on the modules so you can just see these are the different modules that they will be working through. And I'm going to go back now to the course home to also show you the monthly calendar view. This is a new feature in MyWritingLab for Comp. You can actually scroll over a specific day and see what's due that day, and you can actually look forward to see what are the activities that are coming up that you might need to complete, what assignments are due in the future. And here you can click on announcements. As you can see, you have a new announcement, so it really shows up, so it's very hard to miss. And this is a great way to communicate those certain things that you need that student to be aware of on a given day. So next we're going to go into writing skills. Now writing skills to me is really the power of MyWritingLab for Comp, and it lies within our adaptive learning. Adaptive learning is something that is very important, especially now with all of the redesign that is going on in Florida and all across the country. We're seeing a lot of developmental students going to be in English composition classes next year. Some of you may be familiar with that co-requisite model. So you're going to have those students that aren't really quite ready for composition in your composition level classes. And how do you work and do your instruction and cater to all of the different needs in the class? Well, that's where this program comes in. You have over here 11 different modules that the student can work through. And the great thing about our program is that it's fully customizable. So we give you a lot of flexibility. What we like to recommend, and it's totally up to you, is a path builder that the student would take as soon as they begin the course. The path builder is essentially the diagnostic test. So they take a diagnostic, and the diagnostic is going to assess where their areas of weakness lie, and it's going to give them a personalized learning path to remediate on those areas of weakness. So these different modules here you can test out of based on how you do on the diagnostic, or what you can set up is for your student to have to go through each module. So you can actually do it however you would like. And as you'll notice over here, understanding basic grammar, it really starts with the basic skills, those developmental needs, and then it goes to the higher level, higher order thinking over here, writing arguments, writing for different purposes and different genres. So you are catering to both developmental needs and to the comp level student in one place, in one program. And I will actually click on one of these modules to show you what is included. Here we have a skills check. So within each module, after they get their learning path, this is kind of like our second tier diagnostic test. They're going to take this skills check, so I'll click on it just to give you an idea of what it looks like. Alright, well the skills check isn't coming up at the moment, so what we're going to do is just work through here. So the skills check, like I said, is a diagnostic test, and it actually is going to give more personalized attention to those areas that within understanding basic grammar that student still has deficiencies in. So here's the topic list. It's going to show what they need to study in, what they need to continue studying, and then what they've mastered. That's where the star is. And then you can actually see the different activities that they will work through, the number of attempts, and then you will also see their score. And the reason why the skills check, it looks like someone has already taken that skills check, and that's where the learning path is over here. So I'm going to click right over on recall, so that shows that the student missed one question over there, so you can actually see how they're working through this. And and I'm going to go back to the module. I meant to click on one that they haven't done. That would be this recall. See, they have 0 out of 2 attempts. So we're going to click on that one. And then you're going to notice as the student's going through these different questions, they actually do provide very robust feedback. So within each question, they're going to be given, if they get the answer wrong, they're going to be given robust feedback as to why it was wrong. They can actually check their answer. So after they click on the answer, they can go to check answer, and it tells the student why it's not correct and what they need to consider to actually get the correct answer, and then they can actually do a final check, and then it will tell them if it's right or wrong. And the nice thing about over here is that they can actually work through animation. We have a glossary, and there's an Ask My Instructor feature, so the student can go ahead and write a question to their instructor, and it gets emailed directly to them. So I'm going to click out of this area. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and move on to a different part of the lab, but I wanted to make it known that there is an extra practice area that your student can work through as well. It has thousands of different questions, all different modules. You can go all the way down to the objective level and work through those areas. So students do have extra practice that they can work on within the lab. And then we also have something that we give as part of an added bonus in the lab, and some of you may already be familiar with Smart Thinking. It's actually a tutoring service. It's Pearson Tutor Services, where we have highly trained and qualified tutors on hand, and a student can submit up to 3 free submissions. So any areas that they're struggling with, whether it's content development, having problems with transitions, they can submit their drafts to a tutor, and then a response is usually given within 12 to 48 hours on how they can make their paper better before they turn it in to their instructor. So over here, as I'm continuing through the navigation bar, I'm going to just hit on student tools. There's a lot of student tools that we have available. We have a multimedia library. It has all the different modules. They can use animation to learn and to get through these different modules and to better understand these different topics like grammar skills, writing assignments. So there's audio, model documents, a host of different things, media types that come along with it. Then you've got your discussion board, you've got your live chat, we even have Dropbox on here. And then I'm going to move down to the instructor tools. Now the instructor tools, you'll notice there's a computer screen with a slash through it. And that just means that this is the instructor view. So as an instructor, you're going to be able to see the student view, so that's everything above instructor tools and the instructor view all in one place. Whereas the student will not be able to see, obviously, the grade book or how to assign activities. That's not something that would pertain to the student. So I'm going to actually click, I want to go to the activities manager before we get into the grade book, because I wanted to show you how easy it is to create an assignment in here. So we have 2 different writing assignments within MyWritingLab for Comp. We have what we call writing practice. We have 13 different prompts, and these are actually auto-graded, so it's really great for low-stakes assignments that you just need to give your students extra practice and you really don't have a lot of time to grade. We actually have an auto-graded writing feature where it's going to grade the student. You can actually choose the prompt, and the student will fill out that essay, they'll complete it, and then they're going to be graded on things like the tone, their grammar, and you can just use that for low-stakes testing in your class. Then we also have the writing, grammar, and research, so that's where you can go ahead and create your own assignment. And I'm going to go ahead and just say, we're going to call this a reflection paper. And then we're going to go to next. And then over here you can label your assignment, choose the number of drafts, the start date, the end date, and we've actually partnered with Turnitin, so there is an originality check that you can click on right here to have the student's paper review for originality before it's turned into you. And here would be the area that you would input your instructions, and then you can actually upload documents if you'd like. You can actually add sample documents, add other resources to those instructions, And then there's also a checklist, which I really like because it gives a student right before they turn their paper in. Sometimes they're so anxious to turn it in that they don't check to make sure that they've proofread their work, that they've used enough sample documents or citations. So this is a really great place for you to have that checklist. You can add items to the list and make sure that they read that checklist before they turn their paper in. Then I'm going to go to the rubric, which is actually a hallmark feature of MyWritingLab for Comp. And we have actually we have previously saved rubrics where you can create your own. We actually have partnered, or we've actually used the same outcomes used by the WPA in composition. So if you don't have time to make your own rubric, you can actually use the one that we already have. And I'm just going to show you the different, how we have come up with this grade or this rubric and how it's based. What a 4 is, a 3, a 2, and a 1. So say you made that selection, then you would continue through here. And then this is actually just going to be graded or grayed out because this is something that you would have to grade manually. And then you can actually make some originality preferences before the student turns in the paper. You can make the reports available to students, the originality reports, and then you would just hit finish here. And then the last step is just to choose your individual settings, your scoring options, the mastery score here in the learning path, and then you would just hit save and assign. And then that actually gets assigned right to the calendar. So if you'll recall from when we first began today, we talked about what the student first sees when they go to the course homepage, and you might have noticed that it said persuasive paper. So now your reflection paper is going to show up, and you can choose that due date, and then you can also make other adjustments. You can unassign, you can delete. So there's a lot of different preferences that we give you within the lab. And then of course you have your writing practice prompts that you can assign as well. So those are those auto-graded writing assignments that actually go right to the gradebook. So speaking of gradebook, I'd like to take you over here before we wrap up today, and wanted to let you know that we actually have more gradebook views than ever before. We have an expanded gradebook and reporting. There's 4 different views: learning path, by assignments, the overview by student, and the performance by module. And you can actually export data from the gradebook because we know that right now, especially in a lot of our departments, we have administrators who have adjuncts, and you want to be able to look at grades across all different sections and run those reports really easily. So we do have that feature available for you. And then the alerts are actually really great because it lets you know what work needs to be graded. So you can see that there are 4 different things, work that needs to be graded right here. And then here is a community service writing prompt, and you can see when they were assigned, and then you can go in and grade that assignment. And then that will feed directly back to the gradebook. And then here you have your class roster, and then this is where each individual student resides, and you can click on each individual student to see their overall score, to see if they've, you know, what their score is, the time that they've spent, which is really important for professors to see, and how many drafts that they've submitted. So that's another way that you can actually go in by student, so you don't actually just have to look by module. You can look in so many different ways to assess how your students are doing across multiple sections, and even course coordinators can easily can check how their students are doing across different sections of the course. So that is pretty much the gradebook in a nutshell, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to go through this with you in more detail. I just wanted to give you a snapshot, an overview of the lab today so that you can really see the power of MyWritingLab for Comp and how it will improve learning outcomes for your students. Thank you so much for joining today, and I look forward to meeting with you in person soon.